Hey everyone. Today, I'm bringing you a story that's a roller coaster of emotions. Picture this: Ava, a girl who's been used and abused for years, is now in charge of a pack of wolves, just planning to kill her old alpha and avenge herself. But at the same time, she's trying to protect her new pack and give them a better life. The kicker: she's also dealing with the pain of losing her mate, who rejected her and called her a monster. How does she navigate through all this pain and still find the strength to lead? Let's dive in and find out. Chapter 13 visits from an old friend, Ava's POV. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, the army of rogue wolves finally quieted their powerful cries and cheers of excitement. We stood in an open field, the early morning air crisp against our skin. I surveyed the group of shifters, all in their natural, unclothed state, their eyes fixed on me with expectation. Despite my leadership qualities, I felt a slight twinge of discomfort under their collective gaze. Pushing aside my unease, I addressed the group, my voice carrying the authority of a compassionate leader. Do you have a base where we can heal, restock weapons, and replenish our food supplies? I asked, hoping for a positive response. Nathan, ever the informative member of our pack, stepped forward. His respectful demeanor was evident as he spoke. Yes, there's a base about a day's run north of here. He gestured towards the northern horizon, his eyes meeting mine with a mix of deference and admiration. I nodded, my mind already formulating a strategic plan. Given that you've just been in battle, we'll run as far as we can, then stop to hunt and rest. We'll continue forward after that, aiming to reach the base by early sunrise tomorrow. The pack responded with nods and smiles, their trust in my leadership apparent. Shift now, and we'll begin our journey, I commanded. The air filled with the sound of shattering bones as the shifters transformed into their wolf forms, a symphony of primal energy. Alf, Nathan began, but I gently cut him off. Call me Ava, I said, my humility shining through. The word and title Alpha implies a cruel and savage leader, which I am not. I offered him a soft smile, and after a moment of contemplation, Nathan's face mirrored my expression. Ava, he started again, adapting quickly. Can you shift, or will you be running with us in human form? I chuckled, my adaptability coming to the fore. I can't shift due to this curse, but it gives me the ability to access both wolf and vampire powers simultaneously. It's quite an advantage. Nathan nodded in understanding. He'll run alongside you in human form, I continued. If I tire, he'll let you know, and perhaps he'll hitch a ride on your back. I finished with a light laugh, showcasing the camaraderie I aimed to foster within our pack. Nathan smiled at me. It would be an honor. Nathan ended his wording with a slight bow as if he was a knight in shining armor, and I chuckled at the sight. Shift before we leave you behind. Nathan complied with my order as instantly his wolf broke the surface. Nathan's wolf was gorgeous. It was a deep blue, not black but blue, and his eyes shined emerald green just like his human form. Led the way, I told Nathan's wolf, and he smirked before taking off in the direction he pointed to just before. Let's move, I yelled out, and I ran after Nathan's wolf, everyone else following soon behind us, and it was a magnificent sight. Hundreds of wolves ran in one massive pack through the forest, every owner's feet and heavy breathing being heard for miles. I was smiling as I watched my new pack's print across the forest brush along with me. I laughed as I felt my smile widen as I faced ahead. I watched the birds leave the trees before we managed to get close, and the sounds of scampering feet from small woodland creatures hoping to get away before we got closer. I didn't realize it, but we had been running for miles, and one wolf was worrying me. She had a broken leg that was still in an odd position, and as she tried to run, you could hear her whimpering loudly. I praised this girl for her fighter spirit, but at this rate she's gonna have a deformed leg if we keep running. Let's take a break, I yelled. Everyone went into a slow jog in their wolf forms until we came to complete stop. I want half of the pack, a mixture between trackers and warriors, to go and hunt. Don't come back until you get at least enough so everyone gets a bite. Go. Yes, Alpha, A chorus of yes alphas signaled off in my head, knowing they complied with my order. I would prefer you all to call me Ava. Thank you, I asked back through the mind link. I think a little all the pack ran off in search for a meal while others decided to spend their time building a bonfire or checking over their still healing wounds. The young wolf lay down as soon as the orders were given out. Walking quickly, I made my way over to her as she laid on the ground, her breath raspy and uncontrolled. Hello. Hello. Her head shot up of the ground looking at me. Her eyes were wide, confused as to why an alpha was addressing her with such kindness. I couldn't help but notice your leg. I've eaten many of those and they hurt like a bitch. I know how to reset it in human form, so if you could shift back, that would be great. The wolf seemed startled at what I had asked, but she did nonetheless. Her once light brown fur shifting to dark brown hair and her claws and tail retracted into her body, her eyes never changing from their soft brown color. She laid on the ground flat on her back as she struggled to get her breathing under control. I took a quick peek at her leg and it was obvious it was broken. A bone was sticking against her flesh, not broken through the skin, but just sticking out enough so you could see the imprint of the bone against her flesh. I'm sorry I have to do this. It's gonna hurt for a bit, but then it will heal normally and less painfully. She nodded her head, not much a silent command, just to get it over with already. Your arm was draped over her eyes and face, blocking out some of the afternoon sun as she gritted her teeth together in pain. I knelt on the ground next to her leg. I took one deep breath, and as I placed one hand under her leg and one softly on top of the sticking out bone, mumbling my apologies, I quickly forced my hand down that was on top of her bone and the one under supporting the leg, shifting the bone quickly into place. She cried out loudly, but only for a moment as she gritted her teeth together and her jaw clenched as she waited for her bones to heal. It hurts like a bitch. I know it. But after a while you get used to the feeling of broken bones, I told her. She gave me a smile as she placed her arm beside her again and her brown eyes stared straight into my gray ones. Thanks. It already feels less painful. I'm Jennifer, or just Jenny, by the way. She held up her hand in a weak wave before it flopped back onto the ground. I'm Ava, your new leader, apparently. But you probably already knew that. Jenny nodded her head once, and we sat in comfortable silence for a while. How old are you, by the way? She asked, her eyes never leaving mine. 18, you. 14, I was stunned to say the least. A 14-year-old was contributing to a fight like that. Someone was selfish enough to hurt a newly shifted wolf, better yet a 14-year-old one at that, and it made me pissed off to say the least. Your old alpha must have been a dick. I voiced my thoughts on the situation and she bursted out laughing, her chest and shoulders shaking so much but no sound was coming out of her mouth. As she thought it was that funny. He really was. His name even proved it. What was his name? I asked, quirking an eyebrow, waiting her response. Dick Walters. I broke into hysterics at. An intimidating rogue leader was named Dick Walters. A person meant to strike fear into people's hearts, but now the only thing HES doing to me is making me almost wet my pants. That's priceless. I smiled, still laughing, collapsing onto my back, holding my stomach, praying that my bladder pulls through so I don't pee on the ground. No wonder he was such a dick, he was named one. Jenny exclaimed very loudly, and I roared in laughter as we both laid on the ground laughing our asses off. Literally. Oh man. That's frickin' hilarious. I laughed more and Jenny did too. After our laughing fit was over, a very loud yawn was heard from Jenny. Tired? I asked, raising an eyebrow in her direction, and she nodded once. How long have you guys been awake for? I asked. Over 48 hours. I dramatically gasped and Jenny found it funny as she chuckled lightly. As the whole pack not slept for 48 hours. I yelled out rather loudly. She nodded her head slowly, not getting at what I was having a fit at. That's it, I'm literally ordering this pack to sleep after this. I exclaimed, making a no questions asked hand gesture, and Jenny smiled in relief. At this the bag under her eyes seemed more prominent than before. Thank God. She exclaimed, and I laughed at her. Change of plans after the hunt is finished. We will be resting here for the night, and we will continue our journey tomorrow. The pack seemed relieved at this. All their emotions of relief and happiness washed through me, as well as a couple of words along the lines of thank the moon goddess above our new leader lets us sleep. Nathan. Yes, Ava. I'm going to sleep now so I can watch over the pack tonight, while you all get some well-deserved rest. Wake me up when dinner's ready. All right. I built up my wall, mentally making sure that no one could mind-link me as I tried to sleep. Looking at Jenny, she was already fast asleep, her leg now halfway done through the healing, and I smiled at her content face. I pushed myself up against the closet tree and I pulled Jenny's head onto my lap as I patted her hair. In her unconscious state, Jenny snuggled in closer to my lap and a smile plastered on her sweet, innocent face. I soon fell asleep afterwards, my eyes not giving me an option to stay awake. The darkness was all around me, no life or anything was located in this place. But at the same time, it felt comforting and peaceful, with the odd sensation that I've been here before. I have been here before. Where are you? I called out to nothing, hoping that one being may hear. I thought you'd never come. I was waiting for you at the gates. But I guess your body decided to live through. Her body began appearing in the air. The same as before, with the same dress, her face covered with darkness and only her arms and chest area visible. The stars littered the skies, twinkling as brightly as the last, and it made me feel safe and calm in this quiet place. Why do you bring me back here? I growled out, slightly agitated by the whole encounter. I understand you're mad. I would be too if my mate rejected me. When those words left her mouth, my heart cringed and my soul broke again, but I tried to keep up a good poker face. I knew it was going to happen. I wanted to tell you, but I knew you would either think I'm lying or you'd confront Ash and the timeline be screwed up. She knew. I did know. I wish I could have told you, but it was best if I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't, because now you have your lovely pack to look after. But it is your choice to seek vengeance or not. I understand the circumstances, and I would feel torn with what I want. Now you also have to look out for your pack. Good positives will be coming out of this. One, the land your pack craves, and two, you get revenge. She turned to me, even though I cowed and see her ghost of a smile that warmed hearts everywhere. I'm glad I got to see you, and my gift is waiting in the real world. Now I think you're gonna have to talk to Nathan. She spoke, with a slight chuckle at the end which seemed to echo round the room. What or why? I gasped as I felt cold water dripping down my face and body, the wind instantly giving me a chill. OMG, that looks hilarious. Nathan laughed as he stood in front of me, his hands clutching his stomach as the rusted bucket fell to the ground with a thump. Nathan, I swear to God I'll rip your balls off, shove them down your throat, then dig your dick and sew it onto your head so you're officially a limp. Dick, unicorn. By the end of my speech, Nathan stopped his laughter and his face with fear at my threat. Too bad it was a joke, and that made me burst out laughing, holding my stomach so I wouldn't piss myself. Priceless. I screamed out, and Nathan began to laugh with me, all threats and cold water forgotten, as we rolled on the ground laughing. After a good couple of minutes of laughing, Nathan finally spoke up. We set aside a decent-sized portion of the meal if you're still hungry. Nathan unquestioned, raising a brow at me. I'm good. I had my fill from earlier. Give it to one of the younger kids so they can build up some strength. They'll begin watch. I briefly had a look around to see if I could find Jenny so I could give her my scrap of meat, but she wasn't here, meaning she must have woken up for dinner and stayed with the pack, because if she was, someone would have most likely informed me by now. Nathan nodded his head once before standing, walking away slowly before turning back to me slowly with a smirk on his face. You look funny, WHI. What's that? His smirk was lost as he stared at something beside me. Slowly turning, I saw what he was looking at. On the ground lay two daggers side by side, each having a holding compartment inside a belt that's meant to go around the user's waist. Then a completely black outfit which consisted of black combat boots, black skinny jeans, and a black singlet. On top of the entire pile lay a crumpled note. I grasped it quickly, scanning the couple of words scribbled down. Put to good use, Ava. Sincerely, your good friend. I smiled, well aware of the figure standing behind me reading the note. Who's your old friend, Ava? Nathan asked, confused at the situation. A friend to give you daggers and an army outfit at that. I giggled at Nathan's question. Yes. Someone not many people would expect, but nearly everyone would know. I told him, turning around, so I knelt underneath him, staring into his eyes as he stood back. Luckily, the pack must have found clothes somewhere because he was wearing shorts. Nath unraised an eyebrow. "You've got to be fucking joking." I laughed and he did as well. I quickly dismissed him to get changed into my new uniform, which was quite sexy. But she had also made it so the jeans hung low on my hips and my singlet stopped just after my belly button, so might add it could be seen. It also allowed my tail to stick out comfortably, and I haven't found a pair of jeans to do that yet, which made me happy. "Sly girl," I mumbled, walking over to where the pack was eating, now well aware that I was wearing my new outfit, which I knew some guys would be drooling over. And not trying to be a parent. I talked loud enough that my voice could be heard, and everyone immediately turned to me. Everyone was clothed luckily, and everyone sat around a large bonfire, having a bone or two in their hands, finishing off their meal. But I want everyone to get to bed early. I'm gonna be keeping watch, and if something happens, I'll mind link all of you. I spoke in a monotone voice before making my voice extremely high-pitched for the end bedtime. Nearly everyone chuckled and some people begun to sleep, some lying next to their companions, others watching the group, making sure everyone was okay and slept all right. I was honestly scared with having to fall asleep without Ash next to me, but I was tonight. I walked away from the bonfire and begun to climb the closest tree, pulling on the branches and heaving my weight over each and every tree limb till I was at the top, so I had a clear view for miles. It was gorgeous. As I stared out, slowly twisting one of the daggers in my hand, my ears searched for any sounds of danger. Chapter 14 Early Morning Jitters. Ava POV. Tonight was rather calm, with no noise and no disturbances throughout the night. It was only when the sun was just about to rise that a twig nearby broke, which made my ears twist, and an uncomfortable feeling to awaken in my gut. So with this in mind, I climbed slowly down the tree, making little to no noise. Once I felt my feet plant softly on the ground, I took cautious and planned steps towards where my ears sensed the noise. It was a good 20 meters or so away, but when I reached the shrub, nothing seemed to be nearby. Until the wind picked up and a familiar scent wafted through my nostrils, making me alert. "I'm sorry. The Alpha sent me to collect you." A packwolf stood nearby behind a tree, obviously aware that he had made me alert and ready to attack. Why did he send someone for me? Keeping my cool, I pretended as if this meant nothing to me, keeping my poker face on. But on the inside, I felt all giddy and excited that someone had come for me. But when I remembered all the things I did, I calmed those thoughts down. Knowing the main reason he would want me back is because I'm his mate. He wants you to know that, say he is sorry, and if you're willing to return and become our Luna. I growled lowly at this. He didn't deserve me back. My alpha instincts kicked in. I had a new pack to take care of, and I will, even if it costed me my life. Once they have their own land and place, I would be able to take myself to my beach and finish what I started all those nights ago. "Tell your alpha." I made my tone mocking as I spoke of his title. It made his little servant growl at me in protest, but I paid no mind. That he can go fuck himself, and that bitch Whitney. I have bigger plans, and since I'm officially the alpha of my rogue pack, they need resources, and I refuse to leave them defenseless. Now leave and tell that piece of shit Ash what I have told you. As the boy began to leave, I held up my finger for him to stop, and he complied, waiting till I spoke. "Your pack and alpha will never see me again unless fate commands that we cross paths." With that, I turned my back and walked over to my sleeping pack members. I heard as the young boy shifted and ran away from us. Reaching my pack members with quick strides, I scanned the area around us, making sure there was no movements, no sounds, and no scents nearby. By now the sun had risen over the horizon, with familiar groans and protests of how the grass was pointy or my back hurts like a bitch, but I was glad they all slept, seeing as some people had visibly perked up and people looked less tired and healthier than before they went to bed. I was quite calm until I heard a pain-filled howl fill the air. Some of the pack members that were awake turned to me as if I knew the answer. I did. I think his HS little messenger told him what I said. It honestly shook me up. It's not nice to hear your mate howl in pain, and it physically and mentally tortured me to hear that noise. He was kind to me while I was there. He cared for me like no one else had before. But all care and kindness is short-lived, and I know that. It was his fault I was gone anyway. He did the rejection. He called me a monster. He kicked me out. He could blame no one but himself for my absence. It took about a good hour or two of boredom and tense silence as I waited for everyone to wake up. Some people decided to get the hunting out of the way, excusing themselves with a small group of people so no one got hurt. Soon enough the hunting was out of the way and everybody was fed. "Morning," a familiar voice asked beside me. Turning, I saw Nathan taking a seat next to me on an abandoned log which faced the pack members coincidentally. We sat in silence watching the pack members waking up and smiling at one another, making small talk and eating breakfast with one another. This is the one thing I liked more about rogues. Everyone always looked out for one another if a rogue ended up joining a roguelike pack. It made me kinda jealous when I was at Moonrise. "You're awfully quiet even though you were quite talkative yesterday." Turning to Nathan, he still had his eyes trained on the group in front of us, but you could tell he was still in tune to the conversation nonetheless. "What do you expect from a girl who's been mute for almost 7 years? I mumbled more to myself than Nathan, but he turned to me with an eyebrow raised. "You're kidding," he asked with a slight chuckle at the end as if it was a funny joke. I shook my head once. He got the message. "Do you want any breakfast or something? I could go get something if you like." Nathan turned to me, trying to get the early conversation and tension out of the way. "Most of the pack has already eaten. I want to get to this hideout as soon as possible anyway. I was really quiet today, because I was scared that I had to go see Ash again. He showed that he still wanted me sending a pack member after me, but I don't want him to find me. If he did, it would make me so annoyed and happy. I didn't want to deal with these types of emotions like that right now. The main focus was to get my pack land and land this pack shall have." "Ava, you seem tense. You all right?" I turned to Nathan and his face seemed to be perplexed as he stared at me. "Why are you crying?" Nathan asked as if a whisper. Only then did I notice the singular tear that fell onto a blade of grass. Then slowly, like the movies, that blade of grass leaned down and the droplet went into the... I wiped my wet cheeks facing the pack again. "Early this morning, Ash, the alpha of the pack you just attacked, he sent a pack member to come collect me. He said shit like how he is sorry and that they need a Luna." I zoned out for a second, the realization of what I had just lost only now hitting me. I rejected their offer, told him that Ash could go screw himself for one of his bitches, and that I'm never going back. I sighed a happy breath of relief as I watched my new pack or rogues again, like one of those cliché stories. I turned to Nathan, a small smile on my face. "I'm glad I chose to stay." Nathan gave me a small smile as well, his eyes brightening up. "I'm glad you did. Let's start running, shall we? We could get to the bunker by early afternoon if we leave now." I smiled at Nathan, nodding my head once. Soon enough all pack members were accounted for and Jenny's leg had even healed perfectly along with everyone else's wounds, so everyone was fit and well rested, ready for our journey. "Let's go, Nathan." I smiled brightly his way. Nathan had already shifted into his dark blue wolf, those emerald eyes still striking me by surprise as I stared at his beautiful wolf. Nathan smirked as he took off in the direction we were meant to be heading, and everyone followed soon behind. I watched with amusement and awe as some pack members decided to even run in their human forms, and I let out a breath of laughter as I ran. Running just gives you this sense of freedom that not many other things can give you. I'm glad that I was so good at it. Ash POV. I had fully expected Ava to have run back into my arms without a second thought. Maybe even to be attacked and me run an all-hero, like and save her out of harm's way as if she was damsel in distress. But none of that happened. She was gone. When I realized she was coming back, I sent nearly all of our trackers and warriors to go search with her, and still no news had come back of her whereabouts or even where she may be going. I was such a prick to her, and only now did I realize it. Fuck. I was currently sitting in my office, staking my anger out by drinking scotch by the dozen, attempting to get my emotions under control by losing all control of my thoughts and actions. Alpha. I was still sober enough to notice the young man at the door. He seemed tense and upset. I was upset that I was barley drunk, but I set my bottle aside and waved the young man in so I could hear what he had to say. He stood stiff as a board as he shut the door behind him. He didn't bother to take a seat or make himself comfortable, but spoke the couple of words I didn't want to hear at all. Ava rejected the offer. He spoke timidly, knowing I was about to freak out because not only did we lose our pack Luna, but I also lost my mate. Fuck. I yelled out loud, throwing the scotch at the bookshelf, making a couple books collapse to the wooden floor and glass shards shattering everywhere. Little droplets of scotch began dripping down the shelves and soaking the books as a small puddle appeared on the ground. "Thank you," I spoke with a shaken as I gripped the bottom of my desk facing the wood, not the man, as I heard the door shut softly behind him. Tears escaped my eyes before I could stop it, and I knew that it was my fault that she had left me, and she was gone, but I also blamed everyone else, even though there was a justifiable reason. I flipped my desk knowing full well that important paperworks were going to have to be redone, but I didn't care. Only one thought was replaying in my mind. Ava. I punched the wall. Ava. I grasped a painting of a simple flower vase off the wall and ripped it to shreds. Ava. I kicked my desk chair over, stomping on the chair legs and fabric, destroying any remainder of it. Ava. Gripping the bookshelf, I threw the large shelves piled with ancient books to the ground, making sure that all those books were destroyed. Ava. I destroyed the rest of the room in a swift sweep, barely remembering anything that I did as my wolf took full control of my body. I fell to the ground on my knees, letting out a blood-curdling scream of pain and sorrow. The realization that my precious angel is never going to come back to me. Chapter 15. Hideout and Surgery. We arrived at the hideout around late afternoon. The pack found a couple of rogues who were alone in their own group, injured and malnourished. We managed to carry the boy who was heavily injured, and the other teenagers kept up with us as we ran. We ended up with 6 new members, all of which needed serious medical attention, but hopefully make it out alive. The hideout wasn't anything special. It was simply a cave in the side of a mountain that had been dug deeper, with concrete lining the floor, ceiling, and walls. They had a kitchen that was run down and dirty. Bedrooms were just a mattress on the floor, and apparently my new office was just a desk and a chair in a room, along with a couple of other small rundown couches and a bookshelf on the wall that's completely empty besides the collection of booze. I didn't have to look around for too long as Nathan, a couple warriors, and I all began helping the new rogues into our rundown hospital area. The infirmary was just a large hallway with curtains dividing the hospital beds with the surgeries that have to be performed in a bunch of little rooms off to the side. The best thing about this place is they seem to have all the medical supplies needed to heal a fucking army. I stayed with the rogue we found that was the worst. He was young, maybe around Jenny's age, but he was malnourished, unconscious and bleeding. It seemed as if that group had been attacked, with most of them sporting a lot of cuts and bruises. He was in horrible condition. His face had a large scratch over it with 3 claw marks running down it. His chest was barely recognizable, but you could see the large singular claw mark down his chest, exposing internal organs, and lastly he had a broken leg, which I already pushed back in with ease. They laid the young boy on the table slowly. Nathan nodded to me as he left, but I grabbed his shirt, quickly pulling him back to me. "I'm gotta be in here for a while. Watch the pack for me." Nathan didn't need any other words as he silently nodded his head, his emerald eyes twinkling into mine, a soft smile plastered onto his face with a small dimple on his left cheek. As soon as Nathan walked out the door, a woman in a white lab coat ran into the room, her dirty blonde hair. She quickly noticed I was standing nearby, giving me a quick and hasty smile as she began to work on the young boy as I stood leaned up against the wall. "I guess you're the new alpha." She asked as her gaze was set on the limp body. The boy had a set of brown hair with little freckles dotting his cheeks, which made him look that couple of years younger than he already was. "Please, I don't want to be called Alpha." "Ava does nicely," I said with a kind of edge on my tone, telling her I was completely serious. Her eyes flickered to me for a moment before she began fiddling with his wrist. "My name is Bethany." There was a pause as Bethany held her fingers to the young boy's wrist, her eyes soon going wide. Then a kind of depressed look. The wounds were way too big for his wolf to handle, making it difficult to heal. Punctured lung, ripped arteries, and of course, if he did heal, there was a 50-50-50 chance of him going blind. I was shocked, to say the least. "I'm sorry," she mumbled. "Can't you do anything?" I yelled out. Bethany's eyes grew wider as I yelled at her. "We don't have the necessary equipment, and performing CPR would make the wound on his chest take longer to heal." I growled out, knowing there was no chance. I had seen many wounds in my time at my old pack, and this was one that, even with the medical attention, it would most likely result in failure. "Thanks for coming in," I let out a breath that I didn't know I was holding, glancing at the boy's body one more time before looking into Bethany's eyes. "Help the others," I told her. She nodded slowly and left the room and has me following close behind her, but instead of walking to the other rooms, I ran out of the hideout and jumped straight onto the grass. I felt guilty for that boy's death even though it wasn't in my control. I knew when I first saw him he was most likely not going to make it. But he was still breathing ragged breath, sweat dripping down his forehead. If I just gave him some medical attention, he may have still been alive. I screamed and kicked a tree with full force, making it shatter in two. I was yelling so much and the thoughts closed into my mind fast of how much of a failure I am. "You're ugly. You bitch. Fucking monster. Mutated beast." I didn't realize I had collapsed to my knees until I had to use my arms to make sure I didn't fall face first into the grass. I felt sick to my stomach about everything. I lost my mate. A young boy died because of me. I'm in charge of a pack. I still want to be dead, Ava. A voice close by to me talked suddenly. Gasping, I turned around to see Jenny, her hair falling into her face, and she seemed shy and scared. "Are you okay?" I gulped, not knowing what to say. Was I okay? No. I sighed, pushing myself, so I sat on my folded over legs, my butt resting over my feet. "Hey, can I ask you something?" Jenny bounded over to me, obviously trying to cheer me up after my recent breakdown. I don't see why not, I told Jenny, placing an arm across her shoulders and pulling her closer to me. I met Jenny only yesterday, but she just felt special to me, and I didn't want to lose her after I met her. I don't understand it, but I have heard of the protector bond which my wolf side most likely probably connected herself to Jenny's wolf, and now I didn't want to leave her side. Your single keeps riding up. The word relentless is tattooed just above your tail. Why? I gave Jenny a small glance and looked up towards the stars. At my old pack, I was beaten a lot. I was raped a lot. I was tortured a lot. I was trained to be a killer. I attempted to commit suicide at least twice every week. I got Relentless tattooed on my back soon after my parents rejected me because I needed something to tell me to keep moving forward and not give my pack the pleasure of me dying from them. If I died, I wanted it to be on my own terms, where I wanted to. Jenny was looking up at me, her eyes filling with small tears. The sight broke my already broken heart again, and I used my thumb to rub away any straight ears. I never wanted to give up. But after a while, a person can only be broken so much before they are nothing but an empty shell. Nothing like the person before. I exhaled slowly. I was a really joyful kid when I was younger, even though I was raised by own gaze. When I was meant to be a beta, I was generally happy. But when my parents told me what all the other people claimed I was, I broke. Then I broke after I was beaten. Then I broke after I was raped, but I was repairable at the time. I gritted my jaw as I remembered the worst pain. But I realized I was truly nothing but a monster after my own mate told me those words and rejected me. I'm nothing now but when I kill my old alpha, my parents and my adopted siblings, I will know that I at least did something that I strive for in life. This pack will have land. Nathan will be made alpha, and everyone will be safe. Jenny latched onto me full out, sobbing into my chest as she gripped onto my single with an iron fist. "You can't leave," she sobbed out. I'm living with pain every single day. When I attempted suicide, I could barely feel it. I'm sorry, but I have to do it, I told her. She sobbed into my chest, her small fists clinging onto the thin black fabric, and I wrapped my arms willing her to try and sleep and calm down. But after hearing your protector, the person meant to be strong for you, say that, I could understand why she was upset. I know it won't help, I told her while I placed my hand under her chin softly and slowly raising it so she could look at me. Her face dripped with tears, her eyes were lifeless, and her hair was sticking to her face from the salty wetness. My favorite thing in the world is the stars. A good friend of mine always told me how the best of people join the constellations so they can forever watch over their loved ones. Do you think I'm a good person? I asked Jenny softly, my fingers under her chin. Why, yes, she croaked out, and I gave her one of my prized forced smiles so no one sees how I'm truly feeling. If you think so, I want you to look at the stars and think of me when I'm gone. She softly sniffled again and again, using her closed fist to wipe her eyes. She began staring at the sky where the galaxy and Milky Way were easy to see from where we sat on an open field. "We need an alpha. You can't leave us with Nathan." Jenny suddenly exclaimed, her sadness forming into that of anger. "I know you won't understand, but I was in that place for 18 years. I've been used, abused, tortured, and trained to be a murderer. Death is a blessing for someone like me." I began patting her hair, but soon after she got up, standing on her feet, the tears still cascading down her cheeks. "It's not fair. My parents left me. My brother and sister left me. My family left me. I don't want my protector gone as well." She sobbed uncontrollably as she gripped her eyes, attempting to stop some of the flow of tears. "I'm selfish, I know. I just don't want to be alone," she yelled to me, and finally stormed off, leaving me kneeling in a field of grass, speechless after what I had just seen. Just not being selfish, that's one thing for sure. It's a natural instinct for humans and superhumans and supernaturals alike to not want to be left alone. It's against our nature to be by ourselves. But after a while, when humans or supernaturals have been by themselves long enough, they become cruel and uncontrollable, or even just sad and broken. But after being put with other people for a while, and makes up for all the time spent alone, and most heal and become. But some minds never change. I wonder. I mumbled out into the open night air. The only response I got was that of the silence of the night sky, with the soft blow of the wind whipping my black hair around my face. Chapter 16. How could you? My mind was still on the night before as I lay on that branch, staring through 10 multiple sticks and leaves that are meant to block out the sun's rays but are doing a damn shitty job of it. Jenny had a right to feel that way. I have felt the same way multiple times during the time that Jules had died, and I had to face the facts that she was going to return and that no one in my pack even gave two shits about the death of one of our kindest members. Sighing, I didn't know what to believe anymore. "You know I'm right," Nathan said for the billionth time today. I couldn't be stuffed listening right now. We both sat outside, me sitting on top of a branch close to the ground while Nathan leant against a tree, his usual rough demeanor lost as we both lazied around on a beautiful day. The people that were found in the forest had apparently all been burnt, with silver and wolfsbane put into their systems by the dozens. No one made it. We did try to save them using the lycanthrape, but using it had only made some of the patients react worse, their bodies unable to compute the amount of drugs and substances in their body. One person even ending up having a seizure. It was hard. I had already built a connection with all those people, making them soon to be members of this rogue pack. So when I broke the news to the pack that not one of the people we had saved, carried home and attempted to heal, have died, everyone was furious. "We have to see if you can." Nathan yelled, a little bit annoyed now. "Oh yeah, me and Nathan were having a conversation about if my vampire side gave me an ability or not. I was a little more chilled about it, knowing that most likely I didn't have any abilities due to the fact I'm only a half vampire. But Nathan thinks that since so powerful, but maybe I would have an ability. Well, what am I going to do? Try and kill people and see if anything happens?" I yelled at Nathan back, the once calm air now filled with tension as we both fought our points of view. "That would be a good idea, but the fact is, we can't kill anyone." "Nathan, you're not helping," I growled out. I knew that if I had an ability, that it would most likely have something to do with destruction. The moon goddess literally gave me an outfit so I can assassinate people in. My best guess, if I were to have a superpower, it would be preferably to destroy something. "I'm sorry," Nathan mumbled under his breath, his tone of voice making him sound like a bratty child that didn't get his candy. His tone most likely coming from not wanting to make his alpha mad, but also annoyed that he can't banter on about how he's right and I'm wrong. "You're right. I'm just feeling a bit dazed at the moment." It was all honest, my words, the look in my eyes and expression on my face giving away my emotions all too quickly. It was true, I was feeling a little under the weather. Everything that has happened these past couple of days is all coming back to bite me in the ass. The adrenaline rush was gone, and now there were no problems to combat besides planning the attack on Moonrise. There was just nothing to do, and with that came the obvious boredom and tension that filled the air from restless werewolves. Even the animals seemed to sense it. A lot of them steering clear of the pack house for as long as possible. My pack members have to run at least 5 km before even a rabbit shows up. Shit. I mumbled under my breath as I swung an arm over my eyes to block out the sun's rays. A mild headache had just managed to get into my mind. Do you know the pain when it's just that constant knocking on the back of your skull, but even though the pain is so mild it still annoys the shit out of you? I was getting one of those headaches. Nathan looked up from his spot on the ground. I could feel his gaze on me. You alright? I just got a shitty fucking headache and it's pissing me off. Nathan chuckled to himself. Probably from my usage of language in my sentence, I think everything is just becoming too much for you and everyone else. You know the saying, happy alpha. Happy life. I bit back a chuckle. That isn't really a saying. It's just from a different saying that's like the most obvious one out there. I softly chuckled, making hand gestures with my hands to show how much the term happy wife. Happy life is used instead of the term he just invented. Nathan shrugged. Both have the same meaning in our case. You are our leader and you are pissed, so everyone is pissed. I laughed some more after Nathan said that, him joining in soon after. It was nice just having that one moment of bliss after my weeks of shit. He sat on the ground rolling in his own laughter as I used my balance to lay back down on a thick branch while laughing my ass off, attempting not to fall off my branch and land hard on the ground. We sobered up more quickly than I would have liked, the tension filling the air again. I was letting out small chuckles as I thought of our previous conversation as I gazed through the leaves of the tree I was currently laying on. The sunshine just managing to peek through in a couple of spots. What do you think is going to happen, Ava? Nathan suddenly asked. It was the honesty that threw me off. Once a fun-loving conversation out turned serious as shit in a matter of seconds. What? A still slight joking tone in my voice, my body still thinking that we were still laughing at something. I'm just saying. We have literally no way of knowing what's going to happen next. There's a chance you have abilities and we may have to focus on that. Your mate may still be coming after you. There's that pack you still want to take revenge on. You have a new pack to take care of and we don't have any plans or anything for the future. We are going off assumptions at the moment. I'm not sure what happened to our usual happy light talk that we were just having, but I could see where Nathan was coming from. I was a very good alpha. That was a fact. But my plan was mainly to get revenge on the people that hurt me. Then get food and land for the pack so they can sustain themselves, and after that I would give Nathan the alpha position so he can lead while I finish what I started on that beach. It was a selfish plan, I know. I was using people's lives to my advantage to get revenge on my family. Look, Nathan, I'm sorry, it's Jay. Aw, fuck. I screamed out as a searing pain ran through my mind. It literally felt like my head was splitting in half under the immense pressure being put on it. I fell out of the tree, landing around half a meter away from Nathan, screaming my head off as the pain ran through my brain and body, the feeling as if somehow gravity had increased its pressure. But the problem was that no one else could feel the change like I could. Tears streamed down my face as it felt like my body was being ripped in half. The one thing I did remember before I blacked out was Nathan's warm arms wrapping themselves around my crumbling, pain-filled body as he knelt on the ground, cradling me like a 5-year-old. He mumbled soft and soothing words in my ear, and the one sentence I wished I never had to hear was spoken. At least we don't have to worry about your mate anymore. Seems he found a new gal. Chapter 17. It was inevitable I was cold. Very cold. A chill ran down the length of my spine. The cold breeze flowing around me even though I could feel blankets on top of my slowly shaking form. I shivered slightly and chattered my teeth together from the cold that entered the room. I wanted to stand up so badly. I could feel that my body had so much energy ready to face the challenges of the day. It was that same feeling that you get when it's early for school and you don't want to get up because it was boring, but a different feeling that I couldn't quite put my finger on. So why didn't I move? Then the waterfall of shock rained down upon me as I remembered the couple of moments before I passed out. At least we don't have to worry about your mate anymore. Seems he found a new gal. I shot out of bed, my breathing harsh, praying that it was all just a dream and I would have awoken in my new crappy bed. But I didn't. I sat in one of the many dumpy hospital rooms that my pack apparently has. The sheets were soft, but not good for when the weather got warmer, too thin to even keep your own body heat in, and the pillow was stuffed with old feathers that had apparently been plucked from different birds, making them soft yet pointy. The tears ran down my face as it was a marathon, but no noise made its way out of my mouth. It was as if my face was a creek no other outside noise could be heard. That the only thing that was possible to hear was the soft droplet of my tears hitting the sheets that covered my lap. I looked down, my black hair falling in my face, to find that I wore a white dress just like my old one in Moonrise. This made me quite pissed. I was now officially back into my old self. It was as if I hadn't healed at all. I felt like I had made no progress, besides the only thing being that I had made myself more broken than what I was before I left. I gripped the sheets in my fists as if it was me trying to grab the last rays of hope that I had left to try and heal again. But we all knew that was as hopeless as attempting to save those wolves that died. Taking my time to unclench my hands from the sheets, I slowly slid my legs under and out of the sheets until they were out from under the covers and placed on the white tiled floor. I stood on my shaking legs, using my arms to wrap themselves, trying to make sure I'd not break completely until I make it to my bedroom. The hallways were empty as I pushed the curtains aside the window outside, telling me it was midnight from how dark it was. The hallways were the scene as if this place belonged to an abandoned mental asylum, and due to the way I was feeling, I accepted this and made myself think I was one of the ancient souls that still floated around, killing and cursing anyone that entered. Of course, I didn't do that. The thought brought a smile to my face. I waddled into the hallway on my unsteady legs and slowly walked into the darkness. My feet made a small pitter-patter noise on the tiles until the sound turned into a distant pat as the tiles turned into gray concrete that was stained with dirt and even some old blood. This triggered my vampire side, the scent of blood bringing an odd urge of blood to crawl its way into my throat, it with one hand attempting to soothe the pain. But by the time I reached my bedroom door, the smell of blood had almost vanished, making the pain in my throat turn into a dull throb that I pushed to the back of my mind. I shoved the old oak door open to be met by my dark room, in which the only thing that occupied was my queen-sized bed with the same crappy sheets and pillow like the hospital room, and the single chest of oak drawers that sat pushed up against the wall. Only then, when I had a good look at my chest of drawers, did I see my black jeans and black singlet piled on top of each other, with my combat boots and daggers sitting side my clothes. It made my heart swell even more when I saw the little note that was placed on top. Fresh and clean, ready for when you wake up. Nathan. I smiled softly at the little note in my hands, the small droplets of water that fell upon the paper telling me that I was still crying. I placed the little note on the dresser next to my daggers and slowly walked to the bathroom, which was just an oak door leading to my own personal bathroom. Perks of being an Alpha 3. Stepping into the bathroom, I didn't even look at the mirror and just stripped out of my sticky, dirty old dress and let it flop to the floor. I blushed when I realized I wasn't wearing panties or a bra, meaning that anyone could have seen my lady bits. I groaned, refusing to think about it and pushing the thoughts to the back of my mind. I stepped inside the shower, turning on the cold water since we hadn't managed to get heated water yet. But I didn't mind, already upset to cold showers since I wasn't allowed to use proper showers most of the time. The water cascaded down my slim figure, instantly making my hair wrenched as I ran my hands down the length of my hair. My ears twitched as I bathed my ears, managing to keep most of the water out. But my tail enjoyed the water, wagging like a delighted puppy that had experienced rain for the first time. I giggled at this and quickly scrubbed the soap over my body and washed my hair till no grease remained. I stepped outside the shower, wrapping an old red towel around my body, keeping my hair dripping down my back, some little droplets splashing on the white-tiled ground. I soon found myself passing by the mirror in my body and had just had this pull to look towards it. I wanted to enter back into my bedroom and get changed so I can jump into bed, but try as I might, my hand is reluctant to even touch the handle on the oak door. I didn't want to look in the mirror, and I haven't since I was with him. So I didn't want to really look at my reflection and see how much damage had been done and how dead I looked. But my brain and body had an urge to look at the mirror, and I soon found myself slowly turning. I could barely breathe at my reflection. I looked the exact same, besides the fact I had larger bags under my eyes and my lips were crispy from lack of water and blood. My cheeks had that hollow yet well-fed look about them, and my eyes were just a plain gray all around, making them look unattractive. My hair was dead and wet, and my ears seemed as if they hadn't had the time of their life for some time now. My tail being the same. But one thing caught my over every other dead feature I had. I had a singular ugly pinkish-purple scar that ran from around 2 centimeters above my eyebrow down across my eye and staining my eye as well until it finally finished at the bottom of my cheek close to my nose. That's when it hit me. It was the exact same scar that I had gotten at Moonrise that ran over my eyebrow. The thoughts began swirling in my head. Why did it become so much more clear? Why did it change? Has it grown in length? Why would it only show up now? Why would something like this happen? This scar goes against all logic, so why does it exist? I growled as I pulled my hand into a fist and used it to crush the mirror. I breathed in heavily through my nose as my fist began ripping blood into the sink, my blood filling the cracks of the broken glass. Watching the shattered glass break and the fresh blood drip into it, I came to the sudden realization. The scar was there in the first place because this event was inevitable. The moon goddess told me herself how she couldn't change anything, but I just never knew that things were going to get this bad, that Ash would even cause me this type of pain. It was inevitable that Ash was going to reject me. Ash is cruel. Refusing to look in the mirror anymore, I turned away from the now shattered glass, my hands still dripping blood, and I dropped my towel, leaving myself stark without clothes as I climbed into my cold and crappy bed, silently, my eyes wide, tiny tears escaping my eyes every once in a while as I processed all the new information. Chapter 18. Breaks are more than needed. I could barely even sleep a peep. Even as I blinked, my eyes seemed to shoot open from the shock of the situation. My tail lay as if it wasn't even there anymore. All the happiness or anger it once felt had just left, and now it was just lifeless under the covers along with me. My ears weren't doing much better as they just lay flat on top of my head, only leaning to one side if I happened to turn that way. They even seemed to be failing at their job as I couldn't hear anything around me. Just a constant ringing that kept gnawing at the back of my head. It was literally planned for me to have the shittiest life ever and then have it become even worse by the person that is meant to stand by your side for all eternity. I literally didn't know what to feel anymore. So in that spirit, I got up and quickly whisked on a bra and panties along with my black singlet, black jeans, combat boots, and my daggers, which still all seemed to feel perfect even though this world and reality itself seemed so far away from me at the moment. I ran out of my bedroom, making sure to keep my feet as quiet as possible and attempting to calm my fast, beating hard as it tried to jump out of my chest. I knew that if my heart was too fast, it would lead to a number of wolves jumping out of bed to check on me, but they deserved their sleep. I felt disgusted by that old alpha that this pack up said to have. What was his name again? Dixon or something. I barely even remembered, to be honest. From what I have heard, their old alpha was just an asshole who was so overcome by the desire of becoming the best and being strong and powerful. Usually alphas die that way. I ran out of the hideout in record time, the old concrete walls and dripping water forgotten for a moment as I stared out at the night sky. Tonight it was the same as usual. It doesn't really change, and when it does, no one seems to notice, and I don't mind. The night sky was such a simple yet complex thing that seemed to make me feel more smarter and more curious the more I looked at it. But I quickly recollected myself, my body still wishing to get away from everything for a couple of minutes. And I did. I ran for miles, the constant trees whizzing by with the odd animal or two which seemed to make a mad dash before I even was a kilometer away. I felt carefree out here. I loved the feeling of it as I let out a breath of laughter. My arms spread out wide. My face turned to the sky with a smile with the sun to my drained face. When I left my old pack, the reason for leaving was to find peace and feel free, and at this moment all I hoped was to just keep feeling forever so I could one day leave this earth and realize that at least my last couple of moments were spent being carefree and happy. I had never felt an emotion like joy, and that Ash, and when he took it away, is when I realized that no one else can make me happy. So if I wanted to feel this emotion that I'm feeling right now again and again, I would need to change how I feel and make everything right. Well, it's easier said than done. I'm trying to get this feeling I wish for, but it's just so hard to obtain that at some points in my life thinking of an emotion like this was just too far-fetched because I knew it was never going to happen. My tail begun to feel alive as it shook with delight behind me, and my ears pricked up and begun to listen to everything that was happening around us. That once constant ringing a thing of the past. I laughed out loud as I watched the trees, shrubs, animals, and grass all fly by me so quickly I could barely make out some of the objects before they were already gone. Soon I ran into a clearing, the tall soft grass grazing my legs, the feeling just going through my jeans. My ears picked up on the familiar sound of dead leaves and twigs breaking as I slowly walked along with the magnificent sight of a large lake that had the moon's light glistening on the surface. Tiny waves making soft ripples amongst the lake's once smooth surface. It was a sight that would take 1,000,000 years to find. But here I am enjoying its luxuries. Luckily enough to stumble upon such a beautiful sight when this forest only seemed dark and cruel. I walked through the long grass, the blades knocking around the middle of my thighs before they gave up on trying to take me down and went behind me so I could walk through. I made my way slowly to the water's edge. I could feel, see and hear the squish of the mud as I drew closer, and the sound was comforting yet so simple. When I did finally reach the water's edge, my boots sunk under my weight through the soft mud, making the water easy to flow right over my boots. Since my boots were the higher-up kind and waterproof too, I could enjoy moments like these without having to worry about the little things afterwards. I sat down in the mud, still aware that it would most likely go through my jeans and make them dirty along with making my panties cold and wet. But in a moment like this, nothing truly mattered to me, and I could have had a bucket of water poured over me and I wouldn't even mind, until I got a cold, that is. A breeze picked up, making my hair whip into my face, till all I could see was the tiny black strands that blocked my vision from the perfect view. Even my tail and ears had been affected by the wind, my tail moving a couple inches and my ears flinching and drawing themselves closer to my head as the breeze grew stronger. "Where are you?" screamed a voice in my mind, and I slightly whimpered from Nathan's loud tone. "Taking a break. If something happens, they'll alert you, and you will do the same if something happened as well." I wasn't in the mood to drone on about unnecessary facts that didn't need to be discussed. "I swear to God, a save of the pack is going nuts. Tell them I'm fine, you weirdo." Even if the pack was going insane after a couple days like the fucking holiday at this rate. Will do. Just keep your walls down." Nathan sighed dramatically, making this seem like a bigger problem than it really is. I chuckled lightly and responded with a slight okay before returning to the wonderful view of the water. It sucks how life always seems to get in the way of all our delights and wishes. Most people or supernaturals alike can't even get a moment of peace, always having something to do or to check before they can even think about taking time out of their hectic schedules. But sometimes I find that it's nice to be busy. Since I had so much on my plate at my old pack, I never really did get spare time, meaning that I had no time alone to really think about all my problems and the situations I may be in. That's one of the many positives to being busy. It's just so nice since your brain is always working on overdrive that it can't take time out of your day to be sad or angry. All it's thinking is that you got to get this task done. That's the main thing I was thankful for back at my old pack. I was called so many names and beaten so many times any normal person would have had a breakdown at least once every night. But with me, even when I was about to go to sleep, most people have those couple of minutes of getting into their slumber that they think about their day before they finally rest. Me, after doing all my chores, which involved cooking for nearly the entire pack, or I would have been beaten cleaning the pack house till the floorboards literally shined and showed one's reflection, or I would have been beaten sometimes doing outside chores like fixing up the garden beds. Even after that, I had my private training or private time with Alfie, and that I had no energy to even keep my body moving. So I would pass out every night and have the deepest sleep possible until my alarm for 600 AM would blast out and I would redo my schedule all over again. Sighing, I watched as the early purples and oranges signaled the coming of a new day. Deciding I should start to head back, or Nathan and Jenny would personally stab me with both of my daggers, I slowly stood on my numb legs, my body and mind both feeling rejuvenated from watching this lake nearly the entire night. My wolf parts even seemed happier, and I couldn't help but agree silently. As I was turning to leave, I took about 3 steps until growls filled the air.